Why should I learn Dutch? I don't need Dutch to survive in the Netherlands. The job opportunities that you have when you have a good command of the Dutch language in the Netherlands significantly increases. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back, okay? Thank you guys for all your love and support. It means so much to me, okay? Okay guys, so for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Josephine. I'm a YouTuber based in Delft, Netherlands. And in today's video, I'll be sharing with you guys 10 benefits of learning Dutch, especially if you intend to stay in the Netherlands long term. Okay? Okay, guys, so without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, guys, so before I even start this video, okay, I would like to address some of the reasons why I feel some foreigners hate to learn Dutch, some of the excuses I've heard, okay, and why you should not be that foreigner, okay? Okay, so one of the reasons I've heard is that Dutch is not an important language, okay? So some people have given me the excuse that, listen, Dutch is only spoken in about 5 countries in the entire world, okay? And they cannot be bothered to spend their money and time on a language that is not one of the top languages in the world. So this is one of the excuses that I've heard. And yes, while it is true that Dutch is spoken in, I think, barely 5 or 6 countries all over the world, I don't agree that that is enough reason why a foreigner or an expat who is living in the Netherlands, especially when they intend to live here long term, I don't think that's enough reason why you shouldn't invest in learning the language. Okay, now the second reason, and this is the most common one that I've heard here in the Netherlands from foreigners or expats, is that you don't need Dutch to survive in the Netherlands. Now, while that is true in the sense that 95% of Dutchies speak English, it kind of makes it feel like, okay, so why should I learn Dutch? Anyway, I'll be addressing the why in this video, and I would highly recommend you continue watching, okay? Now, the next excuse that I've heard from quite a few, this one is not very common. Some foreigners that I've met actually do not want to learn Dutch because they don't want Dutch to mess up with the accent that they have, especially if they're native English speakers, okay? I've heard some people say, listen, I'm a native English speaker, and the moment I begin to learn and speak Dutch, Dutch is going to mess up with the English accent I already have. And while this may be true for some people, I also do not think that this is a valid reason. Another common reason I've heard is that some foreigners feel like, yes, they have been in the Netherlands for such a long time, but they don't know what the future holds, and they don't know if they want to continue to stay in the Netherlands. And because Dutch is not a widely spoken language, they fear that after they've invested their time and effort, they would never need to speak Dutch in their life again if they move out of the Netherlands. While I think that is not entirely true, I can see the point that I'm making here. And I would also express in this video why I think that is not enough reason. Now, the last and final excuse that I've heard a lot of foreigners make is that learning Dutch is a huge investment, not just financially, also with time and effort, because Dutch is a very difficult language to learn. While I think that is absolutely true, learning Dutch can be very expensive, especially if you want to learn it to maybe a B1 level or quite a good level, let's say B2 or C1. It can be very expensive, not just about money, but you will need to invest time and effort because it's not particularly an easy language to learn. But nonetheless, I also do not think this is excuse enough why a foreigner or an expat who, for the most part, is willing to live in this beautiful country for such a long time has refused to learn the language. So guys, now that I've addressed some of these excuses, or at least I've mentioned them in this video, let's delve quickly right into the 10 reasons why I feel that yes, you that I'm talking to, the foreigner, or the expats should learn the language, or should at least consider and prepare your mind, especially if you're moving to the Netherlands, to learn Dutch. Okay. Now, the first reason why I think it is absolutely necessary as a foreigner or an expat in the Netherlands to learn Dutch, which is the official language actually, is you need Dutch to be able to communicate deeply with the locals. This is pure common sense. Dutch is the official language in the Netherlands, and even though 95% of Dutchies speak English, English is not the official language, okay? Dutch is. That means that a lot of Dutchies grew up with Dutch as their first language. They can be able to express feelings and emotions and have deeper conversations in Dutch. So even though, yes, you might be able to make your way through the Netherlands with English, I would argue that there are some deep conversations or some deep connections of friendship that you will be limited if you do not speak the local language. So now, guys, the second reason why I think is absolutely necessary for expats or foreigners who intend to stay in this Netherlands long term to learn Dutch is this. Dutch citizenship or residence permit requires some level of fluency in Dutch, okay? At the moment, I think you need to have up to an A2 level of knowledge in Dutch, but I have been hearing rumors that in the coming years that this could be increased to B1 or B2 so that it could force foreigners to be more invested in the language. So yeah, if you intend at some point to take a Dutch citizenship or even become a Dutch resident, then bear in mind that you would require some level of fluency and knowledge of the Dutch language, okay? Now, the third reason why I think it's absolutely necessary for you to learn Dutch, especially if you're living in the Netherlands or you intend to live in the Netherlands long term, is this. You need Dutch to be able to have some significant impact in the society. Or let me rephrase, you need Dutch for your voice to be heard. Now, this reason has been one of the major inspirations for me investing recently in my Dutch language. And yeah, the more I live in the Dutch society, the more I see myself that I'm going to be staying here for a longer term, the more I see the need that my voice also needs to be heard. I mean, if after 5 years I take up the Dutch citizenship or I become a Dutch resident, I feel like I will get to a point where I have contributed to the society enough for me to want my voice to be heard, be it through election, be it through airing my opinion. And what is the best way of doing that if not through speaking the local language, right? How will my voice be heard if I can't even speak the Dutch? Which of the voices then will be heard? Is it my English voice? Okay, guys, so the next reason why I feel, or the number 4 reason why I feel it's really important to learn the language, especially for those who do have kids here in the Netherlands, is that when your child is growing here, depending on which school anyway that you choose to send that child, but for the most part, if your child is going to attend the normal public schools here in the Netherlands, be rest assured that the official language of study or of classes would be Dutch, okay? So your child would have Dutch as their first or second language. This is the case for my son. I wanted my son to learn Dutch from the get-go. So even from his preschool, I put him in a pure Dutch preschool, or what we call daycare, okay? Now, I believe that my son speaks some level of Dutch, and I feel like it's very important as a parent to also have a good command of the language, because I mean, you'll be able to communicate with your child in that language. The next reason why, or the number 5 reason why I feel it's absolutely necessary to learn Dutch, especially if you intend to be in this country long term, is that the job opportunities that you have when you have a good command of the Dutch language in the Netherlands significantly increases. Listen, let me tell you, don't let anybody fool you. Yes, you can be able to find jobs where you speak predominantly English. So you can be able to find jobs in maybe multinational companies or in a company where they don't really have any relationship with the locals, so they don't demand that you speak Dutch. However, these opportunities are not the majority of opportunities available. A lot of opportunities available in the job market would require you to at least have some level of Dutch. For some, it could be, even if it's A1 or A2, for some, you would require to have like a very good command of the Dutch language. So regardless, knowing the language or learning the language broadens your opportunities when it comes to jobs. And I would definitely recommend anyone who intend to stay in the Netherlands long term, especially to pursue their career here in the Netherlands, to consider investing in learning the language. Okay? Now, the number 6 reason why I think it's absolutely necessary to learn this language is that it saves you time, effort in the long run. Okay? And I'm going to explain how. Take a moment of silence and think about how many, all this while that you had to translate your letters from with Google Translate. You have to translate everything that you see in the supermarket, translate. Just look at the time and effort it had taken you to do just that. And the funny thing is, because you do it and you do it very often, you don't really realize how much time and effort you actually invest in trying to translate the language, because that is the official language in the Netherlands. Now just imagine if you knew how to speak this language, that this time and effort will not be there. Language barrier can be challenging, okay, especially in everyday communication. So I would definitely recommend learning Dutch and investing that initial time and effort in learning the language, because along the line, it eventually saves you time and effort. Just see it as like a, more or less as a compound interest, or a compound, or an investment that will yield a compound interest. Does it make sense? Yes, it does. Okay. Now, the 7th reason why I think is absolutely necessary for you to learn Dutch is that eventually it saves you money. Hear me out, okay? Now, when you move into the Netherlands, of course, learning Dutch can seem to be a very expensive adventure, okay? For some language schools, you can easily pay up to 1,000 euros just to have the beginner class. That's from A0 to A1. So I recognize that it is an initial investment financially, heavy investment financially for some people. But listen, along the line, it saves you money. A typical example is if you've stayed in the Netherlands for a while and you want to do anything that has to do with properties or law and official documents, if you do not speak Dutch, you would need to pay for professional translators. Guys, these translators are not cheap, okay? You can easily pay a translator from 200 to 400 or 500 euros per hour. I am not kidding, okay? Because this has been my experience as well. So yeah, if you put this into consideration, imagine having to pay a translator for every property that you buy or for every major investment that you need to do. Like, I mean, the cost of not learning the language over a long period of time is just much more than that initial investment that you make. Okay? Now, the number 8 reason why I feel is important to learn the language is that when you have a good command of the Dutch language, you will be able to find more information about the Netherlands. This is something that I get to experience on a daily basis. I am a content creator, and most of my content at the moment has been centered around my experience in the Netherlands and things about the Netherlands. One of the challenges that I face, especially when I want some really deep information about the country, is that I'm not able to find this information because I am not searching for this information in Dutch. So sometimes Google does not pull out some of this information that I'm looking for just because the answers or the documents that I need are written in Dutch and Google does not find them, literally. So I just feel like having a good command of the Dutch language, which is where I'm really hoping to get to by the end of the year or first quarter next year, do not pass me by, okay? I want to start to search just change my phone to Dutch and start to search things in Dutch. One thing I've noticed is that when you're able to search for what you're looking for in Dutch, you just have much more information. especially if it has to do with the Netherlands, some of the laws here in the Netherlands, and yeah, some news. Now, the number 9 reason why I think it's important to learn the language, and this is my argument anytime when someone tells me, oh, I don't know what my next step would be, I don't know if I'll be staying in the Netherlands in the next 10 years, and I'm like, listen, being multilingual or multilingual, or however you want to call it, is, in my opinion, always an advantage. Now, it doesn't matter the number of people that are speaking that language in the entire universe. Having a good command of that language or knowing multiple languages, in my opinion, will always be advantageous. So let's assume that something eventually takes you out of the Netherlands. It doesn't mean that that language Dutch will never come in handy in your entire life, or opportunities will never come in where that language will be an advantage to you. So in my opinion, I would rather be multilingual. I would rather know how to speak multiple languages than not knowing any at all. Like, take for instance, I'm Nigerian. I speak English, which is the official language in Nigeria, but I also speak my native dialect, which is Igbo language, because I'm from the Igbo tribe in Nigeria. And guys, you will not believe it that I traveled to Denmark, in Copenhagen, Denmark, for a conference, a meeting, something, sha. And then, can you believe that in the middle of Copenhagen, when I knew nobody, I literally passed 2 young men having a good conversation in my local native dialect, and I could understand every single thing they were saying. Guys, in Copenhagen, Denmark. Bear in mind that this my Igbo language is not even as common as Dutch when you consider the number of countries that speak Dutch. Yet, I was able to find people to communicate with in that language in a totally different continent and country. So my opinion is, you can never go wrong with speaking multiple languages. It's always an added advantage. So don't see it as a hindrance or a limitation. Always see the positive side of it. Now, the final reason why I think is absolutely necessary, especially as a foreigner who is living in the Netherlands, to learn the language, is that it can be fun and can actually help you to be more creative, okay? Now, recently I did take a course in my university that talks about like how you use creativity in research. Okay, now I remember that one of the recommendations that I was given in that course is that you need to allow your mind to be creative, and one of the ways to do that is to learn something new, something out of your comfort zone, something out of your topic. And actually, it was stated in the course that learning a new language can actually improve the creativity of your mind, and that is interesting, isn't it? So yeah, learning Dutch as a foreigner here in the Netherlands also has that advantage. I mean, it's a language that is spoken by the locals, but in addition to that, learning that language and exploring that new language could be an avenue for you to put your mind off work or off whatever it is that you're always thinking about, and allow your mind to be creative, allow yourself to have fun and do something outside of your comfort zone. So that is also another advantage of learning any new language, actually, including Dutch. All right? Okay, guys, listen, I've been able to provide you 10 good reasons why I think learning Dutch should be on your priority list, especially if you are a foreigner or intend to be a foreigner living in the Netherlands long term. Okay, I know that I've buttressed on the point long term because I feel like some of the benefits that I've shared in this video, would you really enjoy it if you're staying in the Netherlands or plan to stay long term. But it doesn't mean that you would not enjoy some of these benefits even if you are staying here for a fixed period of time. Okay, yeah, so this is the end of this video. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're Dutch, let me know in the comment section why you think foreigners who intend to move to your country should learn your local language. Drop those comments in the comment section so that we all can see and hear from the horse's mouth. Okay, please guys, don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing. It will mean so much to me. Thank you guys once again for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.